play.
Good evening and welcome to the Village of Ossining Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting of September 14th, 2021. Notwithstanding the provisions of Article 7 of the Public Officers Law to the contrary, this meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with the Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021 in light of the public health and safety concerns associated with COVID-19 pandemic. There is no public participation in person tonight. Rather, the public can watch the meeting online through Zoom. Notice of tonight's meeting was published as required and posted on the village's website. The web notice included instructions for members of the public to access the meeting and participate in any public hearings. Comments will only be taken during the public hearing portions of the meeting as usual. In order to participate, please do the following. Members of the public attending online via the Zoom app may use the raise hand feature at the appropriate time if you would like to make a comment. The feature is located at the bottom of the screen. Those attending via telephone can press *9. The meeting host will see that your hand is raised or that you have pressed *9 and will unmute those waiting one at a time so that you can speak. Lastly, comments can be emailed during the meeting to Jaime Martinez at jmartinez, that's JMARTINEZ at villageofossining.org. So jmartinez at villageofossining.org. Any written comments will be read into the record. Please note that tonight's meeting is being recorded and a video and transcript will be provided at a later date. There are a few ground rules for tonight's meeting, and they are in order to keep this meeting orderly and ensure that we get a clear recording. Please follow these ground rules. When you are given access to speak, please state your name and your address. If you are speaking during the public hearing, please limit your comments to the matter which is the subject of the hearing. To all board members, please mute yourselves when you are not speaking. Also to the board members, I will call on you one at a time to speak to avoid everyone speaking at once. If you wish to speak at any time when I am not calling on you, you may also use the raise hand function or literally raise your hand so that I can see you and call on you. We will use roll call voting for purposes of all board motions. This is to ensure that the record is clear. Thanks to everyone for their patience as we all negotiate this new way of doing things. Let us go to a roll call for attendance. For the benefit of the record, we are going to do a roll call to kick things off. When I say your name, please indicate that you are present. Marlene Cheatham. Yeah, I think I'm here. Present. George Bailing.
Present.
Kyle Beckley.
Present.
Bob Durayo.
Present.
Mark Goretzky.
Present.
Also with us tonight is our building inspector, Joseph Agostinelli, planning director, Jaime Martinez, board secretary, Jamie Kane, and our village land use attorney, Amanda Brosi. I think with all of that being said, we can get started. Is there anyone, I believe our continuing business of the board, which was ZBA 09-2021, 111-113 South Highland Avenue. I don't believe that they are coming tonight.
They are in fact here tonight.
Oh, okay. Then I guess.
We have, Alexandra McFarland here.
They are here.
Alexandra, are you here with anybody? Is there any other attendees here with you?
Nope, just myself.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
So Ms. McFarland, you're here to speak on this on ZBA 09-2021, 111-113 South Highland Avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you are up.
Wonderful. So you want me to just go ahead and start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So I apologize if anything that I say has been redundant or has already been said. The last person that was meeting with you is Tiki, and she's no longer with the company. So I've been taking over from her. As you know, my name is Alexandra. I'm the regional manager for Capstone. It's my understanding that this meeting is pertaining to the signage over at Sparta and at Sherwood. Also, from my understanding is that upon us purchasing the properties, these signs were already existing. We have not altered them or had any additions to them, and they have stayed, as is. We have maintained them. It's also my understanding that it's come into question of, can we either remove these signs or do any work to demolish one and be able to add to the other, or just demolish one altogether. We've done our proposals and looking at the overall numbers in order to be able to do so. We're looking at roughly about $18,000 total to complete that project. In my experience, I don't feel like it's necessary in order to be able to remove these signs. Again, these were something that were purchased as is. I don't see any additional buildings being built in the area. I also don't see it as a distraction or a means of being an issue within the area. It's not unsightly. It's not in anybody's way. So it's in my stance that I would like to be able to keep these buildings as is in the condition that they are now.
Just to
So can I
clarify.
clarify? Oh.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
I was gonna
absolutely.
So I
say,
want to, just to clarify that we're only talking about 111, 113 South Highland Avenue.
Sparta.
The other apartment building was already on our July agenda and has already been taken care of. So that
Thank you.
is not part of the agenda for tonight.
Thank you so much. So just for Sparta.
Yes, just for Sparta. And
Thank you
also
so much.
to bring to light that we asked them to come before us tonight with either a proposal as to what you would be looking at if you kept it, and or a proposal on looking to go to one sign and to get back to the building department. I don't see any changes, so I'm not sure, and this is where I'm going to ask Joe to weigh in, because the application that is here, I believe, is the application that was on file from before.
yes, that's correct. Where we left off in the July meeting was on this particular property, there's two signs. I guess the original sign that was there with the previous management company, there was no permit that was taken at that point. So now with the new proposed signs, we're trying to make sure that we get everything properly on record. So, the code says that freestanding signs are allowed to have one. There's two there. So if they're seeking a variance, they need a variance for the second sign. We left off the last time that what was explained to us by Tiki was that they had these two signs because one faced northbound, one faced southbound. So the question was, would the management company be amenable to having one sign with two faces on them facing both south and north? And if that was the decision, then obviously you wouldn't need a variance from the zoning board because you'd only have one sign. And they adjourned this because Tiki had indicated that she was going to go back and have this conversation with the management company to make a decision if they were continuing for a variance for the second sign, or they were just going to have one sign and then there would be no need for the variance. And that's what we were hoping that maybe today that you would at least inform the board if you're continuing with the application for the variance, or if the decision was to just go with one sign.
Well, I believe that we are in fact trying to be able to keep both signs. So I believe it would be going through for the variance.
In that case, I think we can just move forward with what we have. Unless you agree, Marlene.
I think that, considering everything, my recommendation would be that you do move forward. I think that the applicant has had quite a bit of time to work on this application. I understand that they've changed the individual there, but they didn't reach out to us. Nobody's reached out to us in the past 2 months about this. And our first correspondence with them was today. That was that they wanted to move forward with the application request. The request for 2 signs, or for one, the request for one sign that was sort of like perpendicular to the street was what was requested before. They didn't provide that. Obviously they have a request in front of you. There's no harm in just considering it today as it is, since given the fact that they've had a couple of months to work on this or withdraw their application or request an adjournment. They didn't. I think it's safe to assume that this is what they want.
Yep.
Okay. Is there, may I have, I guess we can go forward then. Let's go forward and, is there anything from the board before we open the public hearing?
Marlene, you've already opened and closed the public hearing on this.
That's correct. So it open and adjourn the public hearing on this.
You closed the public hearing already.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to go back through any of that again? No? Okay.
No.
All right, so then I guess we should just go through the factors and figure out where we are.
Unless you want to have more board discussion, go right ahead.
I know that there was, a lot of issue the last time, and correct me if I'm wrong, with us talking about precedents and how, go with other businesses and what this could or could not do moving down the line. I know that there were some other issues with looking at one sign. Could they have one sign that from the board end? And I'd like the board to kind of weigh in, I guess, at this point.
Okay.
If I could just add one quick note about precedent, the reason why that's important here is that the law does state that you need to have just one sign, not 2 signs. Obviously, there are hardship conditions where you would have that. This section of Highland is pretty much a straight shot. Having one sign on one side and one sign on the other side is something that you would pretty much find all over the place. Perhaps that's something that is not particularly unique in terms of signs for most sites. And so if you were to do it here, it would kind of open up a pathway for all the other places. That's something that might be best settled in changing the code,
Right.
something by the Board of Trustees.
I see both Kyle and Bob have their hands raised. So I don't know who was first, so we'll start in order of the alphabet. So Kyle Beckley.
Thanks, Marlene. Hi, Alexandra. Just a little context. I think during the last board meeting for the other property, what was really easy about that decision and what for me personally was not easy for this decision was on the other one, it was pretty clear cut. The sign on the road, it made sense. A sign at each entrance made sense. And the additional sign that required the variance was near the manager's office. It was pre-existing. There was a clear need for it. It had a different purpose. And so that was, for all of us, it seemed cut and dry. We approved that variance. When we got to this one, I think I was the one that originally spoke up, because when we were going through the 5 characteristics and kind of deciding why there's a need for a second sign, what you had brought up was the same thing that was brought up last time. Well, it's pre-existing. So my first question was, at what point does something that's pre-existing that's not to code get addressed if everyone gets to pass it off? And so if the signs were not built yet, were these signs put up by your company already?
No.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Are these view living
These are
signs
brand new
pictured?
signs. They tore down the old signs and they replaced them with the new signs. I do have a picture of the old signs here.
Great.
Yeah, that is the old sign, which was, 2 posts in the wall.
Yep.
That's
So
before my time. Okay.
The first thing that you had said was that the company, when it assumed ownership, didn't change anything, but it actually did change the pre-existing structure. It took out the posts, the sign, installed the stacked rock signage with the thing on top, but there's no need for the second sign, in my opinion, the need is self-created because the angle of the sign was predetermined by the designer or the architect, the management company. If it was perpendicular to the road, there actually wouldn't be another need for that second sign. I'm familiar with the placement. The more southern sign is probably the only one that could be perpendicular based on sight lines, but that's for an architect to decide. But that's kind of where I'm standing on this.
So I think to Alexandra, just to let you know that there, we asked if the last time, if there was any way they could do one sign, renderings, drawings, anything that could come before us to kind of give us an idea of what it would look like. Again, they went from 2 posts and a small sign to 2 what looks like permanent concrete signs. So there was just a little bit of change. There was a lot of change on our part. So we just were asking for another look. Mr. Durayo?
Hi. Yeah, it seems to me that if we grant a variance to have these 2 signs, then every complex up and down the avenue is going to come back and want more signs, and we're going to look like billboard town. I don't think that this is the same as the other variance that we granted, and I think they should be asked to only do one sign that serves both ways. There doesn't seem to be any legitimate need for the 2, and it sets a precedent that's going to bite us going forward. That's my thought.
I agree with you completely.
So I do want to be clear, moving forward, that if we go through the factors that will be before us, to Jaime and to Joe, if this is not granted, the signs will have to be removed. Yes.
Correct. Well, one of them will have to be removed.
One will have to be removed. So I think that was our big push. And I'm going to say, Alexandra, that we will.
And one other thing, I think that they need a sign permit still. They haven't, Joe, have they closed out their sign permit?
No, that's pending, waiting to see if the variance would be granted or not.
Yeah. So they still have to close that out.
That's correct.
So I apologize. And again, I don't really know how this process works in this setting, but am I allowed to be able to ask a question at the moment?
I will allow you to ask a question.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I understand and I hear everybody of what they're saying. Again, I unfortunately don't know the past as far as if there were permits or not. And, I'm more than happy to be able to satisfy that need or that requirement. I do have a question though, as I've seen other communities, not necessarily here, but I've seen other communities in my history of being able to be grandfathered in. I understand that you don't want a billboard city. I understand that. But isn't there an allowance to be able to have some sort of grandfathered in for other communities that were pre-existing and not necessarily new construction?
You want me to answer to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
So actually that term grandfathered in is actually incorrect. Nothing that's constructed is actually, well, it's been there for a number of years, so it's okay. In those type of instances, they're considered like pre-existing non-conforming, but those usually are for things that precede zoning code regulations. When these 2 new signs were put in, the current zoning code was in effect. So the previous sign, whenever that was installed, it could have been installed to a previous zoning code. The one that we are on right now was put into effect in 2009. So anything that's being installed or constructed after 2009 is required to meet the current zoning code requirements. So the fact that the other sign is removed and replaced with these signs, they would have to comply with the current zoning ordinance.
And I think also, Joe, if what Alexandra is getting at is a pre-existing non-conforming use, that also doesn't apply, because as soon as they tore down the old signs and replaced them with new signs, that no longer applies.
That's correct.
That
Yes.
is correct.
So you
So
would no
is-
longer get the benefit of having two pre-existing non-conforming signs.
So if the signs that are there now were there for, say, 20 years prior to this code, and the code requirement in 2009 was the first time it came out with two signs where only one is permitted rather than two, then that would be a pre-existing condition because it preceded the zoning code. But these were installed, I guess, within the last year or so. So they're subject to zoning ordinance today.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, am I to understand that it's not necessarily an issue with these existing signs that were there, but more so that those signs were touched or moved or removed in some way and new structures were put in? Is that the actual issue altogether?
Well, they're totally two new signs.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, the
Oh.
signs, I think that once the signs went up, pretty shortly thereafter, you received notices of order to remedy for all three of your properties. One of them, the property on Walden Street, I believe, you know, I think we internally looked at that and determined that those signs were really tiny signs and basically like address signs. And so that was dropped. The other matter for the property on Croton Avenue was looked at, was examined at the last meeting, and it was determined that it was okay. This particular property, the third property that you had where you changed the signs. And again, all these signs were changed without requesting a permit. It's probably a good idea to get a permit when you do this. In the future, I know you didn't do that, but it's important in the future. If you do have to change a sign, you should always check with the building department, make sure you do get that permit. But to just kind of reiterate what everybody else has already stated, the minute you tore those down, the condition, the pre-existing condition was gone. You just had empty dirt. And so then you built two new, brand new signs. And so you sort of lost that opportunity to use that. Had you gone through the sign permit process at the beginning before tearing those down and putting new ones, you might have had the opportunity to use that. But unfortunately, you didn't. And there's really no guarantee that you would have gotten it even then, because these original signs, even though they'd been up for a while, have been changed over the years and didn't receive a sign permit before either. So we don't have anything on file as well.
I see Kyle has his hand raised again.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I don't want to belabor the point. We don't want to create an undue hardship for a tenant, resident, owner, but in any decisions that are made here, we're also potentially setting a precedent. With the other property, the precedent made sense, and with this property, it doesn't make sense, specifically because it's been stated by both our full-timers, Joe and Jaime, that you destroyed the pre-existing structure. So if you were to use the term grandfather, you'd grandfather in those signs. If those signs were left untouched exactly as is, keep. But you built new structures without a permit, and that's where we were having the issue. So I think my position on these remains unchanged. No new compelling reason to keep the second sign.
Is it time to take this to a vote?
Okay, it's not a vote yet. We have to go through. We still have to go through the factors.
Let's do that.
Okay, Amanda?
All right. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance.
No.
I'm
No.
going to say no to this.
No.
The signs have been there for a while, and the nearby properties currently will not be affected.
I disagree. I think the unintended consequences of those signs staying is other people wanting to put signs like that up. So by themselves, no, but there are consequences to actions. And if we allow this to remain, it's going to change the character of the neighborhood because other people are going to want to do it.
Okay, Kyle, did you have something to add? I see your hand.
No, that was a mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Next factor is whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
Yes.
And
No,
I think I would say yes to this also. I believe
Yeah.
that they can put up one sign that faces in both directions.
oh,
Yeah, double
yeah,
sided.
they can do.
The requested area variance is substantial, which isn't necessarily measured by dimensions, but by impacts, as you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say yes, because it's a double of the standard.
I agree.
All right. The proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No.
No.
As I said, yes, it's the unintended consequence. If it was just by itself, no. But because there's other similar properties that would want to do the same thing, yes, it absolutely will have a detrimental effect by turning us into billboard world.
Okay.
But I
and-
don't know if that,
Sorry.
it may, okay, I'm gonna say it may impact the physical conditions down the road, but currently it does not, and environmentally, currently it does not.
Yes, okay, that's true.
I
So
agree.
if we're talking in the
agree.
future, then yes, there may be an adverse effect, but right now, the answer would be no.
Right.
Got it. And the last factor is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I think we all stand that, the signs were
No
changed
question on that one.
without going for a building permit, without asking, like, everything was done. And I understand why. I mean, yes, there were two signs there, but to build a structure that was, looks much more concrete and much more substantial than what was physically there before, was absolutely self-created.
Correct.
So the area variance test, as you know, is a balancing test. You've, answered three of these questions in the affirmative, two of them no. So you can go ahead and discuss.
So the two
that you said, the two factors that you answered no on was whether there would be an undesirable change and whether, there would be current adverse impacts. The other ones you answered in the affirmative.
but
And self-created.
well, actually, B was also the affirmative, but it was something that can be achieved in in some other manner.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. You answered 3 of the 5 factors yes, which is not typical for your area variance,
Right.
discussions.
Mhm.
So again, we're looking at 3 of the factors being, if we're weighing this and in terms of, moving forward, looking at the future, looking at this property, I would hazard to guess, and I'm not sure if the board is in favor of this, but I think that, the last time this came before us, we asked them to highly consider one sign. And even going through the area variance test, I think we are still leaning toward one sign. But
Time for a vote.
I'm so sorry. I understand that you have to do everything you need to. Am I allowed to ask another question?
We are at the point of a vote. I'm not sure if it's in our time now, Amanda, can she ask a question at this point?
It's up to you, Marlene, but she does, she's not very familiar with the process, so I think it would be.
Yeah, Alexandra, I'd like to offer you the opportunity. You can at any time call the office. We can certainly have a debrief tomorrow if you'd like to have one. So feel free to call the office. And if you have any questions, it's, obviously it's up to you, Marlene, but is this a question that's pertinent to the proceedings?
Yes.
And be my guest, go ahead.
Okay, so again, final question. I appreciate the patience. I'm noticing that these signs are specifically saying in Eagle Rock community. So wouldn't purchasing a new community, wouldn't you have to be able to change the signage regardless? Because it has the old management sign and phone number on there to be able to indicate the new management? I understand everything what you
Okay,
said.
I'm gonna back up into that because the issue is not that you wanted to change the sign. The issue is the procedure and how they went about changing the
Okay.
sign. So
Sure, fine.
that really is the issue. So at this point in time, it comes before the zoning board because the process was not followed in the correct manner.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. Thank you.
Okay,
I would mention also just that had you applied to change those signs, you still would have had to come to the zoning board.
right.
You still would have ended up here
Mhm. Correct.
because you're asking for two signs. So
But it
Right.
would have been at a point, and I'm gonna piggyback into that because had you done it before you changed the signs, then maybe the discussion would have gone a little different before the signs were already put in.
Yeah.
Shouldn't.
All right.
Okay.
So I believe that at this point, we are at a point for a vote. And I believe that in light of the fact that we have determined that the area variance is not to be granted in this case, weighing the
Yeah.
factors,
You need a motion?
I do need a motion.
I'd like to move that this variance be denied,
I
Based
second the
on that-
motion.
criteria for an area variance.
We have a motion and a second. We will do a roll call vote.
Second.
Clarify, if you vote yes, that means we're not granting the variance.
Because,
Right.
right,
Yeah,
because the motion
is-
is to deny the variance. That is correct.
Right. Do you want me to do the roll call, Marlene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Marlene Cheatham,
Aye.
George Bailing,
No.
Wait, George, this, just to clarify, this vote is to deny the variance.
Oh, did deny? Yes. Then I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
I just
Yes.
wanted to clarify before you said
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Okay.
okay, Kyle Beckley,
Aye.
Bob Durayo,
Aye.
and Mark Gorechny.
Aye.
Okay.
So Alexandra, I would, did she leave us?
Nope, I'm right here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, your picture left us. Unfortunately, the area variance for the two signs has not been granted. I would strongly suggest that you do call the planning board or Joe tomorrow to figure out what are your next steps.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. On to ZBA 14, 2021, 29 Birch Court. Carmen Davis is the owner.
Okay. Where'd we go?
Is there anyone to speak on this, Jaime?
The person who, yeah, they're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you see me now?
Is there anybody else from your team here? I have a SK.
Yes, can I invite them as, would you mind inviting them as a panelist, Jaime?
Yes.
Fred and Gregory, we sent, Fred
Okay.
Rodriguez and Gregory, do you have them?
All right, I have Fred here,
Yep, and Gregory's there too.
and then I have SKPC host. Is that you?
That's me, yeah.
All right. Okay, SKAPC host.
That's me, Stephen.
That's you, Stephen. You're at Stephen K at Cratchman Architect. So SKAP is
Yes,
also
I
you?
am. And then there's Fred R. And then there's Gregory H.
Is Gregory H calling in on a phone?
He's already dialed in.
Is he calling in on a phone though, rather than on the computer?
Yes. No, he wants. I wanted him to be on the computer as well. Is Fred? Are you there on the computer?
Yeah, I'm here, but I haven't been trying to do the video.
Okay, Gregory is here.
That was a bad connection.
Gregory,
That
are
was
you
a
there?
real bad connection.
Gregory, are you there?
He's muted.
Okay. I just might need to rely on him for something. I'd like to rely on Fred,
Gregory S here
but
as well.
I don't know what his technology problem is.
I'm here, guys.
All right.
Hi, Gregory. Thanks. Okay.
Is the owner here? Is that Fred?
No, the owner is Carmen Davis, and she's in the same room as I am, and she's appearing through my screensaver.
Yeah,
I don't know.
not very
She's-
well.
I'll move closer, but she is here and right next to me, appearing and
There we go.
reappearing like
Yeah, like a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
okay. What would you like us to do?
I'm muted, I'm sorry. So this applicant is seeking an area variance for a side yard setback for a proposed attached carport structure. I guess you are up, Stephen.
Okay. Who's going to handle the drawings? Is that Jaime? Are you?
So I can pull up anything that you want that we have listed here.
Uh-huh.
But if you'd like, and it's easier, you can pull up the drawings yourself as well.
Gregory, why don't you screen share, Gregory, and bring up the A1 10 drawing or whatever, the floor plan. And while you're doing that, can you do that, Gregory? And while you're doing that, I'd like to just introduce the issue in the project. Is that okay if I talk while he's getting on the drawing?
Absolutely.
We can build a carport, a freestanding carport detached as of right without going through this variance process. And we will if we have to, but we prefer to do what is a little harder and more expensive and time consuming, but we think is better, makes a better building and makes a better looking neighborhood. We would like to attach it to the principal structure. And that's why we're here. In either case, whether the carport is freestanding or attached to the structure, we will still be decreasing the existing side yard setback to the same amount. So in either case, it's the same dimension. I would like to say that the buyers, these are new buyers who have moved from the Midwest, and came here to be closer to their grandchildren, and they have 3 cars, and they're mobile at the moment, but they're grandparents, and they might be not in the future, hopefully not, but they have a 2-car garage, which is substandard, and I'll show you the drawing when Gregory pulls it up, but doesn't really fit 2 cars, and certainly the doors don't open up and get clear of each of them. And so it's essentially a big 1-car garage. Okay, thank you very much, Gregory. Gregory, can you also draw on this too, or enlarge it or something? And Gregory is now showing on the left-hand side an overlay on one of the submitted drawings showing 2 cars that are standard in size. They're not subcompacts and they're not, big Hummers or anything like that. And there are some obstructions in the garage, but only in the center will the car's doors open to a clear space. But on the left-hand side, the door can't open because of the steps. In the right-hand side, the door can't open on the passenger side because of a wall. So I as an architect, I feel it's substandard. And that brings us to the need for a carport. And so we're showing in this drawing a carport with 3 columns and a 5'6" remaining side yard setback. Now I want to go now to the right-hand drawing, and Gregory, can you just focus in on that, drop the left-hand side, enlarge that whole thing so we can see the red lines. I want to make a point that the configuration of the plan is L-shaped. And so the front L, or the stem of the L, meets the 30-foot required setback. Thank you for that highlight. And the L includes a garage with a master bedroom over it. And all of the houses in this subdivision are configured very similarly, if not exactly the same way. And I think in 2003, the subdivision went before the zoning board. Probably none of you were there, and were granted side yard variance setbacks. This information was not available in the FOIL. I'm not sure why it wasn't in your files, but we didn't have that, but we know it to be, this is we're surmising this, but anyway, I would like to say that the principal part of the building is clearly set back properly on the right-hand side and the left-hand side with the neighbors. But when you go back 80, what does that say, 88 feet, Gregory? I can't see it, my glasses aren't on. The worst condition is only a point and not a line or a plane. If you could just put your cursor on that. And the worst condition is a point at 88 feet with the 5'6" setback, but then it gets better and better. It goes back to 13 feet at the back corner, and then 13 feet or some version of that at the front corner where it meets the building. So it's a lot different. It's set back already 8 feet. It's a point and not a plane. And we think that if we were to build the as of right scheme, which is detached, and we have let's say a de minimis 1 foot separation, the carport would get a little smaller because we can't encroach any more than the 5 feet for an accessory structure, because that's what it would be called. No longer a primary structure connected to the principal structure, but an accessory structure. But if we were to do that, and we can do that as of right, as we understand it, we think that the look and feel from the street will not be attractive at all. And now I know that if we get past your review and get the opportunity to go to the architectural review board, they'll be able to see a rendering. But I'll tell you the ingredients of the rendering, which is that, and you can start to see it in the roof plan here, is that this new structure is going to match exactly the existing architecture. So the existing first story porch has Doric columns with a base and some trim, and we're going to add exactly those details on the 3 columns on the side, which will be visible from the street. And we're going to continue the roof line, the shed that's just below the dormer that you see on the garage, and continue it so it looks original and never added on. And we just think that the alternates, which is easier for us to do, will not look as good. It'll be detached. It'll look like an afterthought. It'll look like somebody added things onto it. Gregory and Fred, can you help me with any points that I might have missed?
I think you can make a point. Obviously rendering.
Okay, Fred, don't talk. Fred, text me or something.
Can you hear me?
We can't hear you.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. Gregory, do you know whatever Fred was trying to say? I don't. Okay, I don't know. Jaime, do you know what you're talking about? I don't know. Okay, we'll just have to do about that.
If Fred, if you want to just use the phone number to call in, I'm pretty sure that the phone number connection will be just fine. You must have an unstable connection, so you can literally mute your Zoom and call in on your number with your cell phone, and I'll bring you in, and you will be able to be heard if you if that's what you want to do.
Okay, Gregory, do you think that I should, is there anything else I should address, or maybe I should ask the board, are we ready for some questions to clarify some things? I'd be happy to explain the rest of the project very quickly and the other things that are happening in this plan, if you need that. I know that there's a question about materials, paving materials. I could speak to that. There's a shed that we install without a permit that doesn't require a permit, and a pergola that's almost finished that required about that's almost finished in the back, which is a freestanding structure and didn't need a permit.
So
There's some
I guess my
trellis-
question is, the existing garage is staying where
Yes.
it is?
Yes, it
So
is.
there'll be a garage and a carport?
Yes. The garage has has the master bedroom and bath above it. And probably if it didn't, it might have been originally detached and we wouldn't be calling it a part of the principal structure. But yeah, this is, but like I said, the 2-car garage is deficient. The two-car garage is advertised as 2 cars, but it's deficient.
So, Jaime, can I ask, do we have a street rendering, a view of the property from like an
Yes.
aerial view?
Street view or an aerial view?
I'd like to see both, really.
Okay,
I-
we can do both. Gregory, you want to do that? We can show first the cover page of the presentation, but there you go. Can you see that, Marlene?
So, but this is the way it looked before the pergola and before some of the other work was done?
You can't see the pergola from the.
You can't see the pergola is not visible from the street.
Not from that angle.
Yes, zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah. Gregory, you want to draw the pergola in on that as an overlay there, a little half circle there? Let's go. Yeah.
Other
It's
way.
going the other way.
Other way.
Undo that. And the fence, Marlene, the fence that you see there is a 10-foot, is an existing fence that was removed as part of this project and replaced with a fence that's on the property line, which is 10 feet to the other direction. Yeah, that's more, the pergola is something like that arch, and and there's a shed in there as well. So
So
that's,
now you have a shed back there, you have a pergola back there, and now you're asking for a carport adjacent to the side where the garage exists. So where that little white fence is in the front.
yeah, well, let's go to the plan now, if you don't mind. Is that okay, Marlene, if I go to the plan because it shows it? at the-
Absolutely.
Thanks. Not that plan. Go back to, yeah, okay. So, yeah, let's look at the right-hand drawing, Gregory. If you can enlarge that to full size. Okay, and but come back down a little bit. You're getting, yeah, and reduce it 10%, 15%. Okay, so we are adding we are widening the driveway, adding an attached carport, a proposed carport. There's an existing screen in the back, and then there is a shed which works with small shed that the 10x16 version, 10x14, and then there's this pergola that's open to the sky, and there'll be some raised bed planters as well. And the owners like to garden and spend time at home, and that's what they want. That's what they like. And so all of this, there's we're not exceeding the lot coverage, which is 35%. So
If I can, I do, I'm gonna
34%.
right there.
Sure,
I have pictures. I went there today, so I'm gonna share those pictures.
sure.
Thank you.
All right. So this is an image looking at the back of the house, from the back of the house. This is the pergola structure. You can see that there on the left. This is the other side of the pergola here. This is an old small shed. It's about maybe an 8x8 plastic shed in the back. This is the new shed that they placed in. It's about 10 feet by 12 feet, which is under the code. Both of these don't require permits just because of what they are. The pergola, I think Joe can explain why the pergola doesn't require a permit. The shed is under 144 square feet, so that's why that doesn't require a pergola. This is kind of a view of the two of them together a little bit farther out. This is a view from when I was walking up the block. So you can see the pergola somewhat from the street. If the carport goes up, you probably won't be able to see the pergola all that much, but you might be able to see it as you approach, coming up Birch Court. This is the neighbor's yard here. So to the right of the property, there's also, you can see there's like a line right here on the side. You can't see, there's a fence line, essentially a fence that was built here. And then there's this silt fence that was put sort of onto the property line of 29 Birch Court. So.
Okay.
So I guess my biggest question would be if they're extending the driveway over and removing the grassy area, what does that do for drainage?
Well, we meet, if we have the option to, the drainage is the governing code requirement for drainage is pervious in our impervious lot coverage, which has a 35% maximum on this property. And our calculations show on the filing that it's 34% if we use all impervious materials. The owners haven't decided yet if they're going to opt to do some pervious pavers. They know about it. We've talked about it. They're hard to get at the moment. Many have stopped making them, but they have the right by zoning, code, to have all pervious materials. But they're planning on doing attractive 3 or 4 color pavers underneath the pergola. Underneath the carport would be asphalt.
Okay, I'm asking because if you, and I'm going back to what, that's why I asked the question about looking at the property itself. It actually slopes into the neighbor's yard. So that was my question. If you stop the drainage, is the water going to just run into the neighbor's yard? I think that's a question that I have just looking at the property naturally without the grass.
I mean, I'll show you a drawing, but I'd rather, if Jaime, if you don't mind, can we look at
You can share again if you want, yeah. Or you want me to share something?
Yeah, well, I'd like you to share your iPhone photos that you just shared.
Okay, yeah.
Look at it again. I think it shows the contours pretty well.
I'll be honest, they don't show them super well. I think that, they're a little distorted here, but there is a contour down to the property to the right of them and to the property behind them. There is a contour down. I'm not qualified to say what the impact would be here, but I'm sure that there's runoff going down both of those hills now.
Yeah, I would say that there'll be a curb and there'll be gutters and leaders on the structure that has a lot of throw off, right? The carport structure. So that'll all be taken care of with site drainage as it's shown in the plan. We'll connect to the existing underground drainage system, and that'll take care of that. And there won't be any pavers or impervious or pervious pavers outside of the footprint of that carport between that edge and the edge that temporary wall that you're seeing, which in future will be a fence. But I could easily see how we could to address that concern on the side. In the back, it doesn't go towards the neighbor, it goes back down into the conservation easement. But I could easily see and very easily put in a swale, that's high at the fence and picks up a French drain or something that can control if there is anything there. It'll be grass, but we could improve it and make sure that nothing happens. We have the owners are new and they've met their neighbors and they've had them over for dinner. I know that they're friendly and they really want to have a good feeling, in their new house which they think is their last house. And they're already replanting some trees for them or offered to, but I wouldn't see why this is not a difficult thing to fix.
Let me just put some.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Wait.
Nice to see you, Joe.
Hi, nice to see you. Well, let me answer to a little bit to Marlene's question. So essentially what you would be getting a permit for is for the carport and the extension of the driveway, which would be on the permit. So when the driveway is going to be, the extension of the driveway is installed, obviously it's going to have to be pitched where the water remains on the property or down the driveway, because if it's pitched in a way, since we're issuing a permit, that becomes a stormwater nuisance to the neighboring property. That would actually be a violation. We wouldn't issue the permit that way. So, when it's constructed, it's not going to be allowed to be pitching where the water will be running off towards the neighbor's property. It wouldn't be approved.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks. It's in the drawings like that too. Thank you very much. Good point.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everyone. Thank you, Joe. Bob and Kyle, I both see your hands up. So once again, we'll go in alphabetical order. Kyle first.
Thanks, Marlene. My question was actually, some of it has been answered by Jaime and Joe, but my question was for Joe and Jaime. Is there anything specifically that would, other than the drainage issue, would concern you about the variance? Or maybe can you translate for us a little bit? Is it just the corner of the building that's?
The drainage issue is not what they're requesting a variance for. The variance that they're requesting is for a side yard encroachment. And so the drainage issue, is exacerbated by the existence of that side yard encroachment, amongst other things. So I think that we had a discussion internally with some concern about the issue of the drainage and the increase in impervious surface. I'm going to actually hand this question to Amanda. Does the board have the ability to, if they were to approve this, to set conditions that would require the implementation of a swale or any other sort of drainage issues?
Yeah, I think that because the drainage is related to the proposed improvements, is potential negative impact that could negatively impact the neighbors. I think it would be, not outside the realm of reasonable conditions. I was just potentially thinking, it could be that you submit some drawings showing drainage improvements for approval by the building department or the village's consulting engineer. That could potentially be a condition if that's something you're concerned about here, which sounds like you are. I don't think that would be an improper condition in light of the discussion.
Okay. Mr. Durayo?
Yes. Okay. Well, you guys answered my question about the drainage, because I was going to suggest that be a condition that they put drainage, that it's approved subject to a drainage system approved by the building department. The second thing is, have the neighbors weighed in on how they feel about the encroachment?
I want to, I just want to caution the board from, I think it's one thing to condition the approval on the implementation of drainage improvements. I think it's another thing to approve it without actually having seen what those improvements look like. And I only see that because the challenge for the building department and the planning department is that you get all of these approvals that are pretty nebulous. I think that, you know, there's no urgency to pass this today. There's not like a reason that you have to pass this today. So if you have a question and you're considering this, but you'd like to see what those drainage improvements look like, then you should ask for them and have them back present what those drainage improvements would look like.
Okay, yeah, I get
would
that.
agree- I would agree with that.
Have the neighbors
Bob,
said anything, yay or nay?
Bob,
How they
can I,
feel about it?
Bob,
Yeah,
Robert, okay. I do notice, and we did receive, and I believe either yesterday or today, there are some email messages from a few of the neighbors, and one of the concerns from the neighbors was the drainage.
I saw.
Some was the look of the existing pergola and the shed, and then adding in a carport. So there are some issues, and I believe that those would be up on the, they are up on the website?
Yeah, they are. So if I could, I'd like to read them into the record. Once
Yes,
you're
I was
done with this,
Absolutely.
prior to
That's
opening
where
the,
going with
the public hearing to the public. I know there are several
Yes.
people here already raising their
So
hands.
I believe that at this point, let's open up the meeting to the, for a public hearing.
to open a public meeting.
Would it be okay if I read those items before opening it up, calling on any individuals?
Jaime, why don't you read them during the public hearing before? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. So, may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
so moved, Bob.
May I have a second?
Second,
We'll do a roll call vote just to keep it clear.
Marlene Cheatham,
Aye.
George Bailing,
aye.
Kyle Beckley,
Aye.
Bob Durayo,
Aye.
Mark Ruffey.
Mark?
Oh, aye. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so the public hearing is now open. To start the public hearing, we do have some email messages that were submitted
Technical issue.
Um,
I'll say that, don't worry.
from, or some letters that were submitted from neighbors regarding this this application. So I think that Jaime, if you wanted to read those into, or Jamie into.
Yeah, I'll read them into the record real fast. The first one is from Greg Galef. He says that I live at 47 Overton Road, the property that lies behind 29 Birch Court. My wife and I purchased our house in 2001, right before the Birch Court neighborhood was built. I'm a school board trustee and need to be at the school board meeting starting at 7:30 tonight, so I'm not able to attend the planning board meeting. I think they mean zoning board meeting. I do have some concerns that I would like to share with the planning board relating to the application for a variance at 29 Birch Court. I will not pretend to be an expert on zoning rules, so I apologize in advance if I'm misinterpreting any of the code or using any wrong terminology. Concern number one, it seems to me like the concept of setbacks are particularly applicable to a neighborhood like Birch Court, likely designed for neighborhoods like this. The houses are on smaller lots, relatively speaking, and the original designs were approved to try to give them some space between each other, despite, I believe, being developed with a variance to code from the beginning. In this case, given the proximity of the proposed carport, this would absolutely be an encroachment on the neighboring property and should not be allowed. As stated in the application documents, the minimum required setback on the side near the Graziano property is 20 feet. It's currently only 16 feet, and the request is to reduce it to 5. At 5, it is right on the border and would be a 75% reduction in the required zoning setback. The minimum required on both sides is 40, and proposed would reduce it to 19, less than 50% of the minimum requirement. If the minimums are reduced to 75%, 50% of the requirement, then I guess I would ask, why have setbacks at all? Concern number two, the plans particularly the photos presented, don't seem to provide a complete picture of the property. The owners at 29 Birch have already built the pergola structure. I don't believe this had to be approved, but this structure has a very significant presence in the yard. You see on the aerial diagram, when you add up all the segments, that is roughly 50 feet long. I'm not sure the diagram reflects that it is also 10 to 11 feet high. It is a huge structure. They have also added a shed, a second shed actually, which I also believe does not have to be approved. However, you add these two large structures that they have added, it magnifies the impact that the carport will have to look of the property and the encroachment on the neighborhood at 31 Birch Court and the rest of the neighborhood, as this house is near the entrance to the rest of the street. One of the previous owners of 29 Birch added an enclosed porch behind the house, so this property already seems to have one of the largest footprints in the neighborhood. Concern number 3, the first bullet in the application for area variance talks about a variance cannot be granted to solely satisfy the needs of the present owner. There are 16 very similar houses in the neighborhood. None have felt the need for a carport addition. It doesn't seem appropriate, and if it is approved for one property on the street, what stops all from applying and completely changing the character of the neighborhood? The applicant does not seem to have answered the question on the application about whether the result of this addition will add an undesirable change. Will an undesirable change be produced in the character of the neighborhood or to the detriment of nearby properties by granting the area variance? The answer to this question is definitely a yes. Concern number 4, we have significant concern regarding the change to drainage to neighboring properties. The 29 Birch Court property owner has already removed a lot of large rocks put in the pergola. This is on top of the geothermal system that was put in by a previous neighbor. It is unclear how the pavers in addition driveway, plus the addition of a shed, will impact drainage. It is unclear if the pavers are permeable. When the Birch Court neighborhood was built, several of the houses up the street, 29 Birch, had to add significant drainage remediation to offset the rain runoff that resulted from the properties being developed. So much grass soil being replaced. If the variance is granted, there needs to be a plan to mediate the loss of grass soil and disruption of the drainage of the property. The application states that there would be a new leader from the carport roof pitch to draw water away from the building. Given the close proximity to the neighbor and that property lies at a higher grade than Graziano and the Galef properties, excess water will probably just run off on the Graziano or on our property. The application further states that there will be new gutters to connect to existing stormwater management systems where possible. I think it is reasonable that the question is answered about what is the resolution connecting to an existing system is not possible. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you can visit the site and get a better sense of how out of character this variance seems to be. Greg Galef. The next letter is from Pat Yost. The email says, I'm trying to, let me increase this a little bit here. Apologies, but I'm not sure I'll be able to make the meeting on September 14th as I'll be umpiring a youth baseball game. Please note the following comments for 29 Birch Court application. As a member of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, I was able to get a better understanding of the needs and challenges in our village as well as different neighborhoods, and I make the following comments with both property-specific and general village perspectives in mind. In general, I am in favor of allowing residents to improve their properties and enhance overall property values across the village as long as improvements don't significantly impact other properties directly or neighborhood generally due to changes in character. In this case, I'm concerned about both the potential impact on the immediate neighbors as well as the general character of Birch Court. My understanding is the owners are looking to add a carport as well as the associated pavement in order to accommodate the occupants' automobiles. When taken into context with the other changes the owners have made, are making to the property, I find the overall effect to be one that would change the nature of the property relative to the rest of the neighborhood. Specifically, the additional structures, pergola, pavement, pavers, shed, and planters create a de facto wall up against the property to the south of 29 Birch. The Birch Court neighborhood was constructed in a manner which sought to preserve significant green space, sight lines, and space between houses. Some specific comments. I feel the elevation drawings provided in the document do not provide the full picture of the end state site. The drawings should include the automobiles, I believe 4 or 5, in their proposed parking locations, the carport, which is on the elevations, but also the gazebo, the shed, and the proposed planters to show what the view from the neighbors will look like in total. I'm most interested in the southern elevation. All of the proposed changes to the setback occur along the southern lot line. While the permanent structure, carport support, is 5 feet from the property line, the foundation bed for the shed, the driveway, the roof, the carport, and planters will all be within 4 feet or less at the property line. I noted the additional pavement calculation document. I also see the wording has been changed to remove permeable from the description of pavers, which is accurate. The pavers chosen are impervious. Given that overall, I'm most concerned about runoff from significantly increased level of impervious coverage, all of which is being added to the downhill side of the lot. There are no specific plans to channel runoff away from the neighbors' houses to either the south or rear. While the drawings indicate the runoff from the roof is to be channeled to the existing stormwater system if possible, there's nothing general detailed if that is not possible. The main photo on the first page of the drawings document does a good job of showing the slope directly from where the proposed driveway would be down to the neighbor's structure. Overall, I believe there should be a specific rainwater protection system to protect neighboring houses from runoff from added impervious surfaces, pavers which extend to within 5 feet of downhill property line, and any additional pavement. The specific variances requested in the overall plan would create a site plan with side-to-side appearance and form more in line with S50 or S75 zones, significantly different from the S100 zone in which the property is located. People buy property on Birch Court due to the larger properties, green space, and distance from house to house, and values reflect that difference premium versus S50 or S75 zones around the village. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So the next one is from Graziano. Says, to whom it may concern, I am Elaine Graziano and I live at 31 Birch Court, which is the neighboring property to the right of 29 Birch Court. I'm planning on attending the virtual meeting tonight and reading this into the record. However, I'm sending this advanced copy through my friend David Turiano's email. Please direct any replies to my email. When I purchased my home in this neighborhood, there was a certain aesthetic of green space around and between the houses. Our houses are already quite close to each other. The construction of this carport, along with the shed and pergola, diminished that further. Below, I'm submitting detailed information indicating why this application should not be approved pursuant to the area variance standards authorized under Village Law Section 7-712B3. Thank you for consideration of this matter. This statute provides the zoning Board of Appeals with the standards for granting area variance and making determinations. The zoning Board of Appeals shall take into consideration the benefit to the applicant that the variance is granted as weighed against the detriment of the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. In making such determinations, the zoning Board of Appeals shall also consider, please clarify the zoning analysis on drawing T-000-00 cover sheet. This zoning analysis indicates an existing side yard setback of 16 and a proposed setback of 14.5 on the right property line. This contradicts what the site plan shows, which indicates a 5-yard setback to the carport. One, whether an undesirable change will produce in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the Bullet 1, the neighborhood consists of many newly developed single-family dwellings that are similar in size and scale in the landscape. The carport extension would be very visible from the street and not in character with the other homes. This carport extension would be over 15 feet in height and would be very visible. The carport is connected to the house and gives the appearance that the house would be located within feet of the right side property. This is not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, whereby all of the houses and parts thereof provide for a greater setback of the neighborhood, whereby all the houses, setback of the neighborhood property lines to provide adequate light and ventilation. Bullet 3, the project includes substantial development along the right side property line. This construction will be highly visible and intrusive to my property and to the public. 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. The development plans do not provide any alternatives that may have been considered. The premise includes an existing 2-car garage with adequate driveway. Other alternatives should be explored for the parking of additional vehicles. 3, whether the requested variance is substantial. The variance requested is substantial as a 20-foot setback is required and 5 foot is proposed. This statement stands true regardless if the carport addition is considered a principal or accessory building. In either case, substantial development is proposed adjacent to the property. 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental condition in the neighborhood or district. And bullet 1, the area of the proposed carport is situated on an embankment that grades sharply down to my property to the right. Accordingly, the embankment would be subject to erosion. My property would be subject to excessive surface water and groundwater flows. Bullet 2, the project includes the construction of large impervious surfaces, including 1, the driveway expansion, 2, carport, 3, rear yard paved surfaces, and 4, shed and planter areas. These impervious surfaces are all upgradient of my property and provide for increased surface and groundwater flow. Plans indicate that there would be a connection to the stormwater management system where possible. This is unacceptable. Point 4, the embankment between the existing driveway and the right side of my property line is already excessive and is subject to erosion and inadequate stormwater mitigation. By widening the driveway, this condition will only get worse. 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the zoning board of appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance. Bullet 1, it is noted that the property owner recently purchased this premises with the understanding that it did not provide their parking requirements. This situation therefore is self-created. Respectfully submitted. With that, that's all of them. And so if you're ready, I can open it up. I think I put everybody to sleep.
No, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes, go ahead.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we open it up, I see Bob, your hand is raised again. Do you have something to add?
I'm sorry, I forgot to take it down. No, I'm
Okay.
good.
All right. Then go ahead.
Marlene, can I respond to some of these things or should I wait or you'll call?
No, we have to allow the public to speak first.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll start. We have a phone call from 840-798-89645. There's an extra digit there. I'm going to promote them to panelists. Caller from 840-798-89645. You can speak now.
Hello, I don't have a name, but
They're
can you
muted,
state your
Jaime.
name and where you're from? You are muted, so if you would unmute, you can join the conversation.
Going once, going twice. All right. I'm going to move on to Elizabeth Gilbert.
Mhm. Is Miss Gilbert in? Oh, there she is.
There you go. Yep. Elizabeth.
Hi, Miss Gilbert.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for
Okay,
the opportunity. Sorry, I'm on
please,
a new
please state
iPad.
your name and address.
Elizabeth Gilbert, and I live at 47 Overton Road. The property lies directly behind the property in question, 29 Birch Court.
Okay.
My husband, Greg Galiff, submitted a letter outlining our concerns, but I appreciate the opportunity to further share additional concerns regarding the zoning board application in front of the board tonight. I am very concerned with establishing a permanent variance that allows a significant permanent decrease in the minimum required setback. It would be more than a 75% reduction, as stated by other speakers. That is significant, and that the zoning guidelines were set up for a reason to protect the property values in this new neighborhood. We're not just talking a couple inches or even 1 or 2 feet. We're talking a significant reduction. And if this is approved, would future owners of 29 Birch Court be permitted to build at the newly established minimum, establishing a precedent that would not be able to be changed in the future? This would create a significant and irreversible visual and financial impact to the Graziano, Galiff, and surrounding properties. As noted, the very first bullet in the application for area variance talks about a variance cannot be granted to solely satisfy the needs of the present owner. Clearly, that is the state in this application. The owners have, I thought it was 4 cars, 3 cars, and they're looking to create parking for their additional cars through the construction of the carport. There are 16 very similar houses in the neighborhood. And if all were to add a carport based on this precedent, I think it would produce, and I quote from the zoning guidelines, an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or into detriment to nearby properties by granting the variance. The precedent could be set and others could follow. And in reference to the earlier comments about the size of the garage, that was clearly known to the purchasers when they purchased these houses. And there are 15 other houses on that street that have figured out how to live within the confines of those garage as they were built. My biggest concern is drainage. Our property lies directly behind and below the property at 29 Birch Court. As is with the Graziano property, we're both at a lower level. And it's unclear how the pavers and additional driveway plus the addition of the shed will impact the drainage. and it certainly doesn't appear to be resolved in the application. In fact, the application states that there would be a new leader from the carport roof pitch to draw water away from the building. Given the proximity to the neighboring properties and that the 29 Birch Court property lies at a higher grade than both of our properties, it seems reasonable that there would be a significant possibility that the excess water will run off into our properties. The application further states that there will be new gutters to connect to existing stormwater management system where possible. Again, I think it's reasonable that the question should be answered, but what would be the resolution if connecting to the existing system is not possible prior to the approval of any application. There really is only one scenario, and the water is going to drain into one of our properties, not both. The proposed plan is really intending to accommodate the current wishes and the plans of the owners, which again, as I stated, goes against the first point in the zoning application that a variance should not be granted to satisfy the needs of the present owner because it stays with the property, not with the owner. And then one other point was stated earlier that the worst condition from the street view is that it's just a point on the car point. However, from the street view, because it goes back at an angle away from that side of the property, it's not clear that that's just a point. And whether it's a point or the whole side of the building, it is still very close to the Graziano property. I think the request that's being made is not insignificant. It would have a lasting and negative implication to the neighborhood and to those of us who directly abut the property. I really appreciate the opportunity to express our concerns, and I appreciate your consideration of all that has been brought to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Is there someone else to speak, Jaime?
No. Nope.
No?
Jaime, there's a lot of people with hands up. Are they not speaking?
Apologies, I was on mute. Yeah, I was saying that we have a lot of people, so
Oh.
bring it over. That's what I was trying to tell you. Yeah. So I just brought over Michael. Did I bring over? No, I got
Elaine Graziano.
Graziano is here, so she can speak.
All right, Ms. Graziano, if you would unmute, you may speak, and please state your name and your address.
Hi, I'm Elaine Graziano. I live at 31 Birch Court, which is, I'm the next door neighbor to this property. I was going to read the letter aloud, but that's already been done, so I'm not gonna be redundant. And some of the points, a lot of the points I was going to make have already been made. But I have a few things I wanted to comment on. But first, I do have a question. Is it whether it's true that whether it's attached or unattached, is it allowed to build a structure within 5 feet of my property line, which reduces the setback tremendously? I mean, it's 5 feet from my property line to put a structure, whether it's attached to the house or not attached, it's still a carport. So the impact of that is that it's right on my property line, and visually it's, there's a structure there, a large structure. It's not a small thing. And also just property value wise, are people going to be interested in buying my house down the road when the existing house, because the sight line, it's going to look like it's part of the house. So when you're looking at the front of their whole house, it's going to go straight across. Yes, the carport and the garage are at an angle, but you don't just see the point of it. You do see the whole angle of the front of the garage door, and you will see the front of that carport. It will be an extension of the house. So essentially that house will extend to 5 feet from my property line. That's very close for a structure that large. I was aware, I have talked to the neighbors. I was aware they're, considering putting a carport in there and expanding their driveway. They said they have 4 cars and they were trying to, be able to accommodate that so that they didn't have to line them up in a row and shuffle them all the time, but have them across from each other, across widthwise, so they wouldn't have to be moving cars to adjust for that. But I didn't realize until I saw the plans that it was going to be that close to the property line. When the setbacks are at 20 feet and now we're talking 5 feet, that's really kind of shocking to me. And the architect has brought up So my question is that true? One of my questions is that true? If it's unattached, is that just allowed without a variance to come 5 feet within the property line with a structure that large? I really don't know what the guidelines on that are, but I did have that question. And he brought up the point that, well, just the point of it is 5 feet from the property line, but it goes back on an angle to 13 feet. So at the best point of the carport, it's only 13 feet off the property line where there's a 20-foot setback requirement. And then it gradually goes from that, getting worse and worse and worse towards the front of the carport, which is most visible from the street, to 5 feet. The pictures that were shown in the plans, he kind of indicated, well, you can't really even see it that much from the street. From that angle, you can't, but from a little bit further down in front of my house, all of this is very visible. The pergola, the shed, the carport. It is not just a small thing that they're attaching on. And I just want to make sure the board is aware of that before they make a decision on it. Obviously, it's impacting me the most visually, but also the neighborhood and the character of the neighborhood. And as Elizabeth brought up, to other people, does that set a precedent that people can just start moving stuff to 5 feet from the property line for any additions they want to add on their property? I'm concerned about that. The other major concern I have has been discussed and questions have been asked by the board is the drainage issue and what's going to happen. The slope is steeper than it appears in that picture. I'm concerned about the drainage. It would drain down my driveway, possibly ice over in the winter, and then my basement window is there. Am I going to have water problems in the basement? And I'm not sure. They're saying possibly putting a swell in or something like that. If they only have 5 foot clearance from the end of that carport to the property line, I don't know how much room they have to really mitigate that with grading situations. So I did want to mention those things. Most of the other things have already been established, I think, in my letter. But it's quite a large structure that's being attached to the house. So I hope you'll consider that before making your decision. And I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Graziano. I'm just going to ask Joe and Jaime to kind of keep the questions, and then we can, if there are more, we can just answer them all at once at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Because I understand that there are more people who want to speak. So if we can just go through with the remaining people who are out to speak on this application.
Okay, I think I caught maybe one for later. Is that what you want? Is that what you said? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Did you not hear me? I said that
I can hear you. Yeah, no, I heard you. I just wanted to make sure. I only caught like one major question there, so.
Yes, there was one major question, I think, so we can just hold on.
Return to that later?
Yes.
If you would like, yeah. All right, so the next person up is Pat Yost.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Yost.
Hello.
State your name and address.
Hi there. Yeah, I might as well go on video since I have the opportunity. Hi there. It's Pat Yost, 20 Overton Road. I'm not adjacent to the subject property, but part of the neighborhood, and I got one of the letters from the applicant. So one, thank you very much. Two, my comments were read. I'm glad I'm able to listen into the discussion and hear some of the conversation, and some of my questions have been answered as well. Just I won't reiterate it in detail, but for me there were two kind of main concerns. One, a southern elevation sightline, which while as Steve told us several times, things could be done according to right, the pergola, the shed, the carport if he wants to, one that doesn't seem very neighborly to just say, well, we're going to do it this way anyway if we don't get the variance. But two, adding all those structures together along the southern property line really make a very different view from both the neighborhood and, from the street as you drive up from that perspective. So, I guess, that's just one comment that I do think from a sightline perspective. And two, Elizabeth and the Elaine Graziano both, very succinctly and accurately stated what my other main concern is the runoff. With the permeable pavers going up within 5 feet of the lot line to the south of the structure, as well as the concrete driveway going up within 5 feet of the lot line, and the lot line is all sloped away from where those pavers and the driveway would end. For me, that I go back to what happened last week with Ida, and that amount of a rainstorm, which is happens now and realistically could continue to be happening. That amount of rainfall and that amount of time, where is it going to go? It's only going to go downhill unless there's some sort of a structure put in place to guide it out to the street in a way that doesn't go down either the applicant's driveway or the next door neighbor's driveway, or the across the backyard through the conservation easement. So one, thank you very much. Two, I do want to say, though, I was pleased to hear Steve talk about, willing to consider some sort of a French drain concept to help mitigate some of the draining concerns, which, for me, I would, given that the pavers extend, significantly deeper in the lot than just the driveway, I would personally, think that that drainage structure should extend all the way back to the end of the pavers to help kind of manage the runoff from that. So thank you, and happy to answer any questions at any time, now or later.
Thank you, Mr. Yost. Is there anything? Is there anyone else to speak on this application, Jaime?
There is. We have Michael Curry.
Okay, if you would unmute Mr. Curry, welcome, and please give us your name and your address.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Mike Curry. I live at 42 Overton Road, which abuts Birch Court. It's nice to see you all. Thank you all for opening this up and for your service to the village. I appreciate it. I'm not sure there's much I can add. I'm in agreement with many of my neighbors, so I don't wish to waste our time and be redundant, but just to share a few observations that may be useful to provide some context. And Jaime, when you took the pictures today, you may have, if you walked, that it's at the top of a hill. What used to exist in Birch Court was Briar Crest Nursing Home. So crest implies that there's a crest, and so drainage is certainly going to be an issue. But the larger issue is, Birch Court is a unique community, and historically, when it was built, it was the very best of collaboration between the developers, the neighbors, and the village. All these houses were built at the same time, so the easements and the variances were an important part of the character of the neighborhood. This was not built in a one-off sort of structure. So Birch Court is a community, so the integrity of the community and maintaining that integrity, I think, is very important, and people who have moved in through the years have maintained that and done their level best. So when we start moving down that slippery slope of varying from that, I think we create something that is really not what the spirit of Birch Court is about, and much less the aesthetic and the drainage issues. So again, I apologize, I don't have too much new to add, but I echo Mr. Yost and neighbors with their comments as well. But thank you for your time and appreciate your diligence on this.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there anyone else to speak on this application?
It's 8:30.
Wait. Oh, sorry. Motion to close the public meeting?
Second,
Wait, there is one last one. There's the phone call that we got earlier. They didn't come through. I'm gonna try to see if we can get that to work now. 8407-988-9645. You called in. If you could try to speak, unmute yourself. 3, 2, 1.
I'm hearing crickets, so I'm guessing no.
Yeah, I hear crickets. I hear those crickets too. Yeah, nope, I guess not.
Okay. So we're going to move forward.
Marlene, if you all aren't planning to make a final decision on this tonight, and I don't know what will happen, but maybe you take a motion to adjourn the public hearing. I don't know.
Marlene, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to close the
Wait,
public.
before we go to that, I would like Jaime or Joe to answer the question that was most pressing out there that was asked if the pergola could be built as of right. And I think that's a
I think it's like a carport.
carport, sorry,
To be
built.
Right. Yeah, Joe's best to answer that.
Actually, the carport, not that, and maybe it was misstated by the applicant. If it's connected to the main building, then it's basically like an addition to your main structure. If they decide that they want to make it independent of the building, and essentially it would be an accessory structure, then you would go by the zoning code section 270-27, which deals with accessory buildings in residential districts, and then it has a whole different range of requirements about the overall height. It says it has to be a minimum 5 feet from any lot line, and again, it only can be a certain square footage and size, and only basically it can only be about I believe 30% of the yard that it's being placed in. So if the applicant is able to meet all of those criteria of an accessory building in that district, then it's essentially possible where they wouldn't need to apply for variance at all. That would be if they were proposing it to be an accessory structure, not attached to the building, it's self-supporting. So when the applicant or the architect spoke, maybe what the intent was to say, if we were to do it in that manner, we may not need to be in front of this board at all because of the way the zoning code is written.
So then I guess my question would be, before we move further on, is it advisable to ask if we could look at a rendering or a drawing that would show that the look of something to that magnitude?
I would caution the board from asking for renderings of something that they can do as of right. It comes with an additional cost. And
Okay.
so I think you can ask them to consider it. You can ask them to provide a rendering or a drawing or something that's more reflective of what the impact of the current proposal would have. But asking them to provide drawings of what it would look like if it was done correctly seems like something that they would want to do on their own maybe, but this board doesn't need to see a compliant drawing. I think they need to see it.
I would like to see, however, a like a mock-up or a drawing of what the current proposal looks like at the sight lines. It's hard to see in the drawings, and it's hard to visualize from the street pictures, in my opinion. But I believe I would like to see more information. I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels, so I will, ask if there is a motion to either adjourn or to close the public hearing at this time, or if the board has anything
I
else.
would not recommend closing the public hearing. If you close the public hearing, you won't be able to reopen it.
I understand that, but if the board, the rest of the members
I
do not
apologize.
need any information, then it would truly be their choice. Moving forward, okay, I kind of got you, Jaime. It would be my recommendation to adjourn the public hearing and but it really is up to the rest, to the entire board as to where they feel they are sitting at this point.
I move that we adjourn the public hearing.
I second. It was Mark.
Okay.
So it was moved by Mr. Demetrios, seconded by Mark, to adjourn the public hearing at this time. Let us take a roll call vote.
Marlene Cheatham,
Marlene, do I get to say anything? All right.
There is a vote on the floor.
so you said aye. Okay.
Aye.
Joe Veiling,
Aye.
Kyle Beckley,
Aye.
Bob Dario,
Aye.
and Mark Gorechny.
Aye.
Okay, so as of right now, the public hearing has been adjourned. I believe that, and the board can please speak, if there is additional information or anything that you need, I think this is the time to kind of discuss where we, what we would like to see moving forward.
I'd like to highlight a couple of things. So there are two requests
I see.
that go ahead, Marlene, I'm sorry.
I can see, and I know not everybody is on the chat, but yes, the public hearing was adjourned, which means it can be reopened so that even those on the phone can understand that.
So there were two requests. I think that if I could try to consolidate and make sure that the applicant knows what they need to do. One was the request to get those visuals showing the impact of the new structure on the neighboring yard. The second one was about showing the swales or the proposed drainage solutions that they would be doing on the site plan.
So I think in light of, the at least the two things that we are asking, if there's anything else from the board that, I'm sorry, Kyle, I see your hand is up. Is there anyone else that would like to weigh in?
Joe, I have a question. Under the guidelines you wrote for an accessory building, you said something about 30% of the available yard. Does that include the whole yard or that part of the yard that is surrounded by property line and impervious surface?
Yeah, it says that it can only, the actual wording is that it shall not occupy more than 30% of the area of the required yard or side yard, rear yard or side yard. So basically they have to take the square footage of the side yard if that's where the carport's going to be, and then the square footage of the carport. And if it's 30% or less, then they're in compliance. If it encompasses more than 30% of the side yard, they would have to come back to this board for a variance for that.
Okay.
Copy that. Thank you.
I see, Steve, that you had your hand raised, but at this point, this will be your last and final 2 seconds.
A couple of things. I think that the drainage issue is a technical issue and can be engineered. I don't think that it's a one size fits all solution, either French drains or pervious or non-pervious. You have to know what the percolation is. Having pervious pavers everywhere might not do anything. So an engineered study would definitely define the drainage properly, but I see that as not as a purview of your board. I see it as a technical issue for a permit. I still think that the issue is whether the variance for that it be attached, because I've done the study and it can be detached and it can be as of right. So that's why we're here. We think it's a better building. I didn't have the attitude that that, either whatever you guys say we're gonna do, I'm respectfully.
We're not at that, like, we're not asking that. What we're asking for is to just give us some additional information so that we can make an informed decision with the look of the property line itself. So I think that it's not a yes or no. And I think, and at this point in time, I don't think we have enough to go on. So we're just asking so that we'd like to adjourn it. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn it to next month.
Well, that's
adjourn till next
it's been a
month.
big delay. This has been six months have gone by that we've been delayed and forgotten about. I thought that this is part of the architectural review board to have a visual, which we've already prepared. We don't have it ready for us right now, but we have it ready for in 3 days or something. So we're definitely going to do that. But I thought that all goes to the. I think I'll be. I tried to get on the board, the 2-week board review, and I'm scheduled for that. And I won't be able to get on it.
I want to say, again, this board tonight will not be voting on this, I don't believe. I think that we are at a point when we just really need more information. That is why I am asking for it to be adjourned to next month. And there actually is now a motion on the floor to adjourn. I believe that I should ask for a second.
Second.
It was, the motion was made by Mr. DeRio and seconded by
Mark.
To adjourn this application until October 2021 at our next meeting, pending some additional information from the architect, and that would give us a better thought process into moving forward with this application.
Can I ask a question? I guess maybe Amanda to answer that. One of the questions that has to deal with the stormwater, is the board allowed to request from the applicant an analysis of how they would handle stormwater and give it to our consulting engineers to review it and advise the board as to what if they feel it's suitable?
Right. So I think it's important. Stephen made the point that it's not within this board's purview to be approving such technical things as stormwater, and the zoning board would not be approving that those improvements. They are simply asking to see where you plan to place on your plans. And as I suggested before, when I gave some, this is I guess probably half an hour ago, gave some potential condition language, it would really be up to the consulting engineer to review any sort of stormwater improvements you plan to put in and tell the board that they are adequate. So yes, I would say, Joe, you're right. The consulting engineer should weigh in on whether those are adequate and will do the job. And that's going to be how we handle it. I think that the zoning board will not be deciding on whether or not stormwater just design is adequate or not. It's really going to be a condition of the approval, and it's going to be handled by the building department.
I think that, and I think that to make it easier, part of what we look at are the conditions and the environmental conditions and the impact on the environmental conditions. And I think that's where we really need to feel comfortable being able to go through this process. And it has, we're not looking, I personally am not going to see if the water drains right or left. And I don't believe the other board members are, but we do need to make sure that, whatever's in place, that we have something in writing that says that there will be no impact on the neighborhood or the district. There is a motion that has gone forward. We did vote on it.
We need to vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like me to do the roll call?
Yes, I couldn't remember. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Marlene Cheatham,
Aye.
George Bailing,
Aye.
Kyle Beckley,
No.
Bob DeRio,
Aye.
and Mark Gorechny.
Aye.
Okay, so Kyle, you are voting no, that we should not put this on for the October meeting?
Yes, because I believe we have enough information to vote. And I would like if we could make a motion to apply the test now to see where it falls based on today's information and public feedback. before we decide to close for today.
Is that,
The motion to adjourn passed. So
No, it did
Okay.
pass. That was my reasoning. So I know I was the one person, but it's good to have some qualified dissent.
absolutely.
it is. That's why I just asked if he would qualify his dissent. I don't know, like, I know the motion to adjourn has passed. I don't know if we want to go through the test just to see where everybody stands. If that's advisable, Amanda, at this point.
You've already adjourned the application, so I think you just
You-
move on
you-
to
yeah.
the next.
I'm all good. We know where I
Okay.
stand.
All right. Okay. With that being said, thank you all for coming out tonight, and we will see you again next month.
I'm happy.
On to ZBA 15/2021, 51 Calam Avenue. Demetrios Farmakopoulos, and I know I just messed that up. It's Greek.
Well, he's here, so you'll get a chance to be told exactly how to say it correct. Demetrios Farmakopoulos. If you could unmute yourself.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Demetrios.
Is there
Demetrios,
anybody
I
here
have. Can you give us your name and your address, Demetrios?
Demetrios Farmakopoulos, 51 Calam Avenue.
Okay. I see a W in your,
That's supposed to be an S.
okay. I was like, all right, I just want to double check. Okay. Thank you. You are here about 51 Calam Avenue. Is there anyone else with you?
Yeah, architect John Anastasiou.
Jaime, do you see the architect?
Yeah, I do see it. Yes. Mr. Anastasio, you're here? If you could unmute yourself.
I am here.
Okay, welcome. And I guess you can tell us that you are here. You are seeking an area variance for a front yard setback for the construction of a front porch and a rear yard setback for the construction of an addition. So it's in your hands.
All right, fantastic. Just want to ask, how do we handle screen sharing? Do I share my screen or do you have?
You can
the
share your
application
screen,
up?
yes, if you'd
You
like.
can share your screen, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can see my, right now I have my letter to the members of the board up.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, fantastic. So just in brief introduction, one is making an application for an area variance at 51 Calam Avenue, and we're requesting 2 setback variances, a front yard variance request of 10 feet 3 inches, and a rear yard variance request of 4 feet 3 inches. Additionally, we're also seeking a lot coverage variance impervious of 2.4%. And all those variance requests are based off of what the requirement is, not what the existing condition is. So I'm going to just scroll down here.
Okay.
So this is the existing house as it's currently situated. As you see, the lot is a quarter of a circle, and It starts out on Calam Avenue, and as the road bends, it leads into Flavel Place. The house currently has two entrances, one from Calam, that's right over here, and then another entrance that's off of Flavel Place. And what the owner is seeking to do is give priority to one of the entrances, to have that be their main entrance, and then where the other entrances, create a mudroom there and have that more as a secondary entrance. So the owner is seeking to build a wraparound front porch and additionally build a mudroom in this location here. The way we're orientating our yards, the front yard is off of, as a corner lot, this is going to have two front yards. And because of the geometry, it's a curved lot. So the front yards are going to be off of both Calam Avenue and Flavel Place. Here's the property line. So I did an offset here that represents where that 30-foot setback would occur. With this being the front, we are indicating that our rear yard is going to be this portion here. And the one side yard will be this side over here. So we'll have a front, one rear, and one side. According to the additions that we're seeking to do, this wraparound porch is going to be at a dimension of 19 feet, 9 inches from the property line. Currently, the existing house is at 15 feet. So we're not worsening the existing condition. We're building within it. However, we still are in need of the variance based on the current requirement. So for the front yard, where the requirement is 30 feet, the existing condition is 15 feet based off of the proximity of the corner of the house at its closest location to that property line there, which is at 15 feet. Our distance is at 19 feet, 9 inches. So we're seeking a variance of 10 feet, 3 inches for the front yard. Our rear yard is currently established by the existing house that has an existing rear yard setback of 4 feet and 7 inches, which is indicated here. The mudroom addition, we're doing so much in the middle of the house. So its rear yard setback is 25 feet, 9 inches, taken from the edge of the mudroom addition here to the rear property line. So we're seeking a rear yard variance of 4 feet and 3 inches. And again, the existing is 4 feet, 7 inches. Regarding the side yard, the existing house has a side yard setback of 4 feet. The requirement is 12 feet, and this wraparound porch addition is going to be set back at 12 feet, 3 inches. So we are not seeking a variance for the side yard. The other variance that we are seeking has to do with maximum impervious coverage. The requirement or permitted is 40% of the lot area. The existing condition based on the footprint of the existing house, the square footage of all the paved walkways that currently exist around the house, and the footprint of the existing front masonry stoop. Currently, it's at 41.2%. We are proposing the wraparound porch, and we're proposing the mudroom. The mudroom is already constructed over an impervious area, so it doesn't factor into the calculation. The wraparound porch is partially built over a portion of this walkway, which is going to be removed. And the wraparound porch is also built over the existing masonry stoop and steps that are going to be removed. So I'm looking at a net difference of what is being removed and what is being added. In addition to that, the owner, in seeking to mitigate the variance request, is also going to be removing segments of the existing paved walkway that exists around the western half of the building as it jogs around here. The owner is seeking to maintain the portion of the walkway that's at the southern end of the property for the purpose of, having access to an existing basement hatch. So when you count in the areas that are going to be removed and what we're adding from the existing, there's a net add of 90 square feet. So we're going from an existing percentage of 41.2, we're going up to a percentage of 42.4. However, the variance request is based off what the requirement is, which is 40%. So I listed it here as a 2.4% request. So those are the three variances that are being requested for this application. I took the liberty of stating in my letter to the board, and applying the 5 principles. I don't know if it's appropriate or not at this time for me to go through this, so I seek your guidance on this, if it's something that you want me to read or not. So should I proceed?
I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to read through it, but I did see, your explanation.
Yeah.
So if there are any members of the board that would like to have it read into the minutes. I'm sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's already a part of the record. It's just a matter of whether you want it read into the actual video.
I don't think it's necessary.
No.
Okay, so we've all had a chance to read it, so thank you. And you disappeared off my screen, so but thank you. And I believe if there's nothing else from you, if there's anything from Mr. Demetrios, then we're going to I'll just entertain anything from the board at this point, and then we're going to open the public hearing.
No, there's nothing else from me.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
All right. Is there anything from the board before we open the public hearing?
No.
Okay. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Bob.
Is there a second?
Second, George.
We'll go through the roll call vote to open the public hearing. Amanda, you're okay.
Thanks. Marlene Cheatham,
Aye.
George Bailing,
Aye.
Kyle Beckley,
Aye.
Bob Durayo,
Aye.
Mark Gorechny.
Aye.
Okay. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone from the public to speak on this property? No. Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Mark. Go.
Okay, that was muddled, but I believe that it was moved by Bob and seconded by Kyle? No? Okay.
I'll second Mark.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was, okay, Mark.
I was looking at Google Maps.
I heard kind of like a muddle there. Okay, so the public hearing is now closed at this time.
Did you want to do a roll call or just unanimous consent or?
We can do a roll call. It is just cleaner. So I have a roll call to close the public hearing.
All right, Marlene Cheatham,
Aye.
George Bailing,
Aye.
Kyle Beckley,
Aye.
Bob Dario,
Aye.
Mark Gorechny.
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. Is there any discussion from the board? Okay, I guess we can go through the area variance test and keep it moving.
You want to discuss all, so you have the front yard setback, rear yard setback, impervious variance. Do you want to go through the factors for all three of the variances at once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I just
motion-
have I have a question and maybe Joe and Jaime, I don't know if Jaime was around, but Joe, didn't we do something with this property before? Did we change the front? Like for some reason, I keep thinking in my head that we moved the front.
There were, I can tell you the history of the property. There used to be there was two different parking entrances and so one of them has been removed. And so in the discussions with the applicant, part of the reason they're making some of these changes over here is to make what is essentially now the front of the house look like the front of the house, where previously there was a different parking area and a different entryway. That was more of the actual front of the house at that time. So they're sort of shifting the front around the bend, so to speak.
Okay, so I was not going crazy. I do remember, I don't know why I remembered this property.
I can't say if you're going crazy. You might be going crazy.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive, Marlene.
The previous owner did a lot of work on this house. So
Okay.
he had done some work with the deck that's in the back that I believe, that a variance. Like you said, there was two driveways there. Now there's one. There was some changes, I believe, to the entrance. There was a lot of interior work done to the property, so.
Okay, so I'm not losing, I thought I was losing my mind when I said, when I was looking at this going, didn't we do this already?
Yeah,
Okay.
you have a good memory.
Thank you.
You can't have wandered far.
Going crazy, I do remember it, and then I looked at the pictures and said, wait a minute, wasn't this like the entrance over here? Okay, so I'm good.
So can I make a motion to vote on or apply the area variance test in block?
We don't need a motion for that, but I think we could go ahead and do it.
That's me being overzealous.
That's good. That's fine. All right. So if you would, for my benefit, since I'll be doing the resolution, since there are three separate variances, if when you are discussing the factors, if you could just try and address each of the variances when you're talking about each factor, that would be helpful. So the first factor is whether there will be an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variances.
I think in each case, no. I think in all three cases, I don't think it does that. I think it's fine.
I agree.
Okay, and I believe that in some of the changes that they are proposing to the property itself, it will actually make, I think the change will be positive and not undesirable at this time.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So next factor is whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than area variances.
I don't think so, no, on any of the three.
Yeah, I agree. Doesn't seem to be a way.
And I also believe that they're making changes that will remove some of the surfaces that could, could cause some issues, and to make the front of the house more of the front of the house.
Thank you. The next factor is whether the requested area variances are substantial.
No.
No. None of the three. In fact, they're less than what's already there in a couple of the cases.
I disagree. I think
I was going to say that
the front yard porch is substantial based on the percentage of the setback out from the house that they're going to be reducing. It's only one of the 5 factors, but I do say yes.
And I was going to say yes to that too. I think the front porch is very substantial. The rest of it, the other 2 are not, but the largest one, which would be the front porch, is substantial to one of the to the requested area variance, which I believe was 10 feet.
It's
That's
10
what-
feet, 3 inches.
So 10 feet, 3 inches, which I believe was substantial to the other 2, which were, very small in.
Yeah.
Much smaller.
Can we, I would think it would be helpful to have the zoning worksheet up for the board to look at. It shows, the existing, the proposed, and the amount of the variance. Because, for the front yard, it's an interesting comparison.
Give me a second. I'll pull it up.
Okay. If I'm reading this right, which Joe can obviously confirm, the required front yard for the zone is 30 feet. They actually have 15 feet existing, and they are proposing 19 feet, 9 inches. So I think that's a little bit more than what they currently have. But yes, it is a 10-foot, 3-inch variance, and it is measured from the required.
Yeah.
Right, and the variances that they're requesting are for distances for structures that they're proposing to build now. So
Now, right.
It's a 33% request, so to me, that's significant.
Fair
Right,
enough.
so-
Just wanted to, I think it's helpful to have this up when you're
Yes.
talking about the factors.
So in light of that factor, in light of factor number
3.
3, whether the requested area variance is substantial, yes, the front yard 10-foot, 3-inch variance is substantial, whereas the rear yard 4-foot, 3-inch and the impervious coverage issue is not.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then the next factor is whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
I think it makes it better, even with the substantial change in number 3. The change actually makes it more appealing from the street, and I think enhances its impact on the neighborhood.
I also want to add that they are removing some of the concrete, which will, again, give a better
Drainage.
green area, drainage area and green area around the property.
I agree. If the impervious surface coverage was greater, a higher change, I would decline that one, but I agree with what everybody said.
I agree.
Okay. Last.
And the last factor is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Well, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, yes, but it's not that important for this one.
I agree. So,
I would just advise to tell you that it is an odd shaped lot, so that has a lot to play with a lot of the issues here because of the constraints of the lot.
That is an excellent point, Joe.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Why we pay you the big bucks.
Yes. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. So with that being said, I believe that the test brought us to a place that we would be in agreement to approve.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve all 3 variances as written.
As it appears on the zoning worksheet?
As it appears on the zoning
Yeah.
worksheet.
I
As they appear on the
second
zoning
that.
Okay.
I second that motion, Kyle.
So the motion was made and seconded to approve the area variances as they appear on the zoning worksheet. Roll call vote.
All right, Marlene Sheeta,
Aye.
George Bailing,
Aye.
Kyle Beckley,
Aye.
Bob Dario,
Aye.
and Mark Korechny.
Aye.
Motion carried. I look forward to seeing this done, and you're not allowed to come back anytime soon because it just makes my memory go crazy.
That and the bologna sandwich.
I want to thank you all. Thank you for your time, and thank you also. And I'll be in touch with the town so I could understand the next steps and the next application, which I believe is for the Architectural Review Board.
Okay, that would be the village, and we gladly like to see you at the village architectural review board.
I look forward to it as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
enjoy your evening.
You as well. So
You too.
I could just leave now, correct?
Yep, you're done.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Hasta la vista.
And last on our agenda for tonight is the approval of the minutes from the July 13th, 2021 meeting. It seemed like yesterday we were here. Seemed like a long time since I've seen you. So may I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes. Kyle?
Second.
So the motion was made by Kyle Beckley and seconded by Bob Dario. All those in favor, we can
I'll say aye.
can we all say aye? Oh,
Mark
We'll
should
do-
abstain because he wasn't present, but everyone else
I
can.
wasn't, yeah, I wasn't at the meeting,
So-
but
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
aye. Mark, we have one abstention, and motion carried. I look forward to seeing you all in October. I'm guessing that we will be back here on Zoom again in October until we hear anything further. But I look forward to
I
seeing
believe
you.
it's till the end of the year.
So the law is through January, I believe, right? So I
I
I'm
like
having a
Zoom.
sense that the Board of Trustees wants us to meet, and I think that, I believe the Land Use Board has the right to say you want to meet in person, but you also kind of have the right to say you'd like to meet on Zoom.
I like to be on Zoom.
Okay.
Zoom.
Unless I can send a cardboard cutout in person.
Okay, so I look forward to seeing you all on Zoom again in October. How's that?
Yay.
Have a happy.
Have a
Uh-huh.
good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Good
Motion to
night.
adjourn.
May the force be with you.
Have a motion to adjourn, Mr. Dario.
Yes.
I'm taking
Motion
it.
to adjourn.
May I have a second?
George.
George, would you say second?
Yes, second.
Okay. I'm going to say all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
I see you in October.
Everybody.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Night.
Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Before we all leave, Kyle,
Yeah.
can I just ask a question? And I know the meeting is kind of over, so I was waiting for this. I know that you were ready to vote on Birch Court. Can I find out why?
Oh, wait a second.
Okay, you can.
Amanda, is the,
Well, the meeting's adjourned.
So the meeting's adjourned, and can we
Are
turn
we
off the
allowed
audio?
to if there's no public present?
You're
I don't know. I don't know.
allowed-
I'm just asking,
this
I'm
whole
asking
meeting
for
is
his
being recorded
input.
until everybody leaves. So if you do want to talk about it, I would encourage you to call him.
Yeah,
Okay,
probably a better plan.
On the phone.
I missed that. I'm sorry. I got signed up for a second. What was, I just missed that last part. I apologize.
I have to call Kyle separately.
All right.
Hi, he'll be waiting.
No, he will, and I'm gonna call him in about 2 minutes.
All right.
All right.